Welcome back, guys, to another video. I wanted to give my opinion about how people are breaking down the football game against the football game with the two teams, Kansas City and the Buffalo Bills. And I don't like the way that the quarterback position is given too much credit entirely. And then when things go wrong, the quarterback gets all the blame. I think that's a unfair metric used in the way that quarterbacks are assessed. We understand that the game of football is not a one-on-one sport. That's obvious. So whenever you're playing a team sport, you always have to look at all the parts. Like I heard Shannon Sharp on First Take yesterday saying that, Josh Allen didn't get the job done, and great players always find a way to win. Okay? No matter what. But to me, that's when you start getting into illogical measures or illogical measurements, because I say illogical because it has to make sense. I'll give you an example. No matter how great Josh Allen is, or Patrick Mahomes, or Lamar Jackson, let's just say, for the sake of the point that I'm trying to make here, let's just say that there was no offensive line at all, like it didn't exist. I don't give a damn how great of a quarterback you are. If you have people in your face and there's nobody blocking, you can't do anything, right? Now, follow me here. That's an extreme example that I'm using just to drive home a point. The point that I'm making with that extreme example is that it takes a collective effort of all men on the football field for every play to make sure everything works out the way that it was designed. You need receivers to catch the ball if you throw it to them. You need the offensive line, left tackles, right tackles, guards, centers, everybody, tight ends. You need everybody to do their jobs. And you also need the quarterback to make the correct reads down the field and make the proper throw. And the quarterback has to be accurate with the throw. There's so many variables in one play. So I hate it when quarterbacks are given all the blame and when quarterbacks are given all the credit. And I think that's the problem. The foundational means in which we use to measure or grade quarterbacks is highly skewed. I believe that Josh Allen played a wonderful game. Did he win? No. Him not winning, does he mean he played a bad game? No, it does not. Unfortunately, in the game of sports, somebody has to lose. There were games, you remember the game with Tom Brady when they played against the Eagles and you had a backup quarterback, Nick Foles, believe that's his name. I mean, the stats of Brady were amazing. But guess what, folks? He still lost. Is that Tom Brady's fault? Some people will go as far as to say that, because this is the narrative that they say. They'll say, Tom Brady lost to Nick Foles, and that's unfair to the other men that are on the team. It's not a one-on-one sport. This is not Federer against another tennis player. This is not a tennis match or even golf or track and field where it's just you racing against everybody else. It's not a selfish sport. So we cannot use selfish vernacular to measure or grade quarterbacks. It's a misalignment. It's a misjudgment. It doesn't make sense. Football analysis should take longer. Football analysis should break down every aspect of the game, including special teams, including the kickers, because they're involved too. Because if a kicker misses a field goal, guess who still gets to blame? The quarterback. He lost. So when they draw up the head-to-head matchup between Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, what they'll usually say is, Josh Allen has lost more games to Patrick Mahomes than any other quarterback, or whatever the narrative is spun. But the narrative is always going to be spun between two men. Now, the counter argument to that is that, well, the quarterback has the ball in his hands. That's an argument that a lot of people like to use. They'll say things like, the quarterback has the ball in his hands. It's a quarterback-driven league. And I'm not denying that. It is a quarterback-driven league. Most teams that are good, most teams that are great have a good quarterback. But it takes much more than quarterback play to win games. It takes much more than quarterback play to win games. Sometimes the defense could win the game for you when the quarterback is not having his best game. Sometimes your special teams can win games. Maybe a punt return for a touchdown. Maybe a long field goal, 60-something yarder that goes in for the game winner. Sometimes your running back can win you the game. Sometimes your offensive line can win you the game by keeping the defensive line at bay. So there are many aspects to the game. So I think a true breakdown of a game of that magnitude, Buffalo Bills and Kansas City Chiefs, it requires a true, intricate intentionality into the multifaceted aspects of the game. Because to simply look at who won and who lost, that's elementary analysis. Anybody can, of course, everybody in America knows that Buffalo Bills lost. However, to say that Josh Allen is not great because he lost, no, he's a great quarterback. The guy's a beast. He's a monster. And it's just unfortunate that when two great players play, usually one has to win. And it's sort of like the Michael Jordan syndrome. He goes to 6 NBA finals and wins all 6. And so that's the measurement. That's the metric. All right. That's the rubric in which all great players are measured. So if you go to a final, you better win it, because if you lose it, you're not as good as Jordan. We can't do that, folks. There has to be everything has to be taken in context, and every situation has to be analyzed within its own event, like within its own time. The time that Jordan did it was great. And there were many great players who did not get a chance to win the NBA Finals because of Jordan. Karl Malone, John Stockton, they didn't get a chance. Does that diminish their greatness because they didn't win? To some people, it does. And to some people, because Patrick Mahomes beat Josh Allen, because that's the way they phrase it, I'm just using their terminology. That's not something that I usually like to use. I don't like to say one person beat. I usually like to say Kansas City Chiefs beat the Buffalo Bills, because it takes a total team effort, a totality of all parts. Even the coaches play a huge role. The play calling is very important. The brains of the operation is very important. It's just like soccer. No matter how great one player is on a soccer team, you better believe that you need the other guys on the team to be all connected. The passing. That's why I love watching soccer. I watched it a lot with my dad when he was alive. The game could be 0-0 at the 88th minute, at the 88th minute, and it doesn't matter. I'm still glued to the television because it's so dramatic. One goal feels like 100 points because it's so hard to score, because you need your other teammates to make sure that everyone is on the same page. There needs to be a team camaraderie and a chemistry that goes way beyond X's and O's sometimes. The pinpoint accuracy of those passes, not with your hand, but with your foot, as it kicks the ball and they make the ball curve in certain directions. That's amazing. But I also think that American football is the same way. I mean, that pass that Josh Allen threw to Diggs, it was a good pass, but it was also a difficult catch. If Diggs came down with it, it would have been an amazing pass and an amazing catch. It would have been an amazing play overall, pass and catch. Unfortunately, Diggs did not come down with the football. And guess who gets the blame for that? Josh Allen, because he's the quarterback. But Josh Allen did what he was supposed to do. Diggs just didn't come up with the ball. Then there was another play that they were very critical of when I think there was a defensive lineman like right in the face of Josh Allen, and Josh Allen couldn't really step into the throw, and he threw the ball short when he had a guy open in the end zone. Guess who gets the blame for that? Josh Allen. Not the offensive lineman that allowed the defensive lineman to get through, or not the assignment that was called. See, that's why you can't blame one person. You can blame many parts, but you can't blame one person. And I think that it's just unfair the type of pressure these quarterbacks take. And then people may say, well, they get all the credit when things go well. They should not get all the credit when things go well either. I don't think that's right either. I think it's an insult to those other men that are on the team. But, I mean, in the locker rooms, they know. I mean, everyone knows who should be getting the credit for why things are happening. But the narrative that's spun on social media and these major sports networks, they always make it, they're trying to turn a team sport into an individual sport. And I think that's the problem. You know, it causes a lot of friction in locker rooms, which is why sometimes when you have a quarterback who is not very, likable by the team, it doesn't go well quickly because all the praise goes to the quarterback. They get the huge contracts. They're the ones that get the big deals, and everything's on them. And if you can section this off by percentages, yeah, we can all say that the quarterback play is probably the most significant part of a team. But I will also say offensive line play as well. Because if you're going to predicate the significance of a team and put most of the percentages on the quarterback, then the only way the quarterback can be successful if he has a offensive line that's competent. If no offensive line, no good production for the quarterback. That's the way it goes. Okay? Same thing on defense. A lot of times the cornerbacks, the secondary is given credit for certain things, but do we ever think how good the defensive line is to put pressure on quarterbacks, to force quarterbacks to throw the ball sooner than they want, to force them to throw inaccurate passes? And then who gets the credit for breaking down those passes? The cornerbacks. But we don't look at what happened in the trenches to cause the quarterback to make that type of throw. So it's difficult to analyze football and try to use one-on-one vernacular to assess the entirety of a football team. You can't say, this football team has two of the best corners in the NFL. But the question that's never asked is why? Why are those two corners the best in the NFL? A lot of the times, some corners don't get many attempts. Like, they don't get receivers that are coming at them. You know why? Because their D-line of those teams are so good that quarterbacks don't have time to throw the ball down the field. And if they do throw the ball down the field, it's rushed. So everything's all connected. It's like everything's connected on a string. That's the beautiful artistry of football, no matter how violent that sport is. It's very team-based. So that's just my take on it. I don't think that Josh Allen played poorly. I don't think the game diminishes his greatness. I don't think even if Mahomes lost, it wouldn't diminish Mahomes' greatness either. I just think those were two great quarterbacks. Unfortunately, Josh Allen just took the L. He just took the L. He took the L. But that's going to be the narrative that's spun. That he's not as great as Mahomes because he can never beat Mahomes. Because Mahomes has more championships. Statistically, you could make the argument that Mahomes is better, but slightly. It's not like Mahomes is in a different galaxy. It's not like you're comparing Patrick Mahomes to Zach Wilson, the quarterback for the Jets. You're not comparing. It's not night and day here. We're splitting hairs. Even if you compare Lamar Jackson to Josh Allen, but these are both guys that could kill you with their legs and kill you with passes down the field. So we are in a time where the NFL has great quarterback play. And I think we should just embrace it and just be grateful that we're living in a time where we can see great quarterback play, and not to put narratives out there that are like, oh, this guy is greater than this guy. Look, they're all great in their own way. Unfortunately, one person has to lose and one person has to win. But in that end product of wins and losses, there's so much parts that are involved in the progression of a loss or a win. Earlier in the season, when Kansas City wasn't playing well, most of the blame was getting put on the receivers because they were dropping passes. Some blame was getting put on Patrick Mahomes because sometimes they said he was trying to do too much and he wasn't playing very well himself. But that's what football does. You start to pick apart a team that's not playing well, drop passes, which is why it should let people know that you can't totally put the blame on Josh Allen when certain passes were dropped in that game. Did Josh Allen play a perfect game? No, he didn't. No, he did not play a perfect game, but he played well enough to win. But winning requires everything to be immaculate. It requires everything to work more than the opposing team. It doesn't mean you have to play perfect, but your mistakes has to be less than your opponent. Your opportunities has to come more than your opponent, and you must take advantage of those opportunities. And when you don't, the quarterback gets a heap of the blame. And I just feel bad for Josh Allen because this was the year that he should have beat Patrick Mahomes. This was the year where he had home field advantage playing in Buffalo. This is the year that Patrick Mahomes' team was not playing well going in to the playoffs. But we see there's a certain switch that gets lit between Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, because they've been there, done that. They flipped on the switch. They are in playoff mode now, which makes them very dangerous. So that's my analysis on that, guys. Thank you for listening. Leave a comment. Tell me what you guys think. All right. Thank you guys for listening. All right. Bye.